going to do is prime my skin, and to do that I'm going to be using this Hourglass primer. This one is the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer, and this stuff just makes your skin super glowy. It's this weird white color, so I just put that everywhere all over my face. So today I'm actually going to use a second primer. This one is the Too Faced Prime and Poreless primer. This is obviously a mini sample sizey one, and yeah. So this one says it's a skin smoothing face primer. I just want to smooth out my pores right here. That's where I have big pores. Obviously you would suit this to your skin type and the problem areas you would have. So if you don't have big pores, you obviously don't need to use a primer for that. If you don't want to use a primer, don't use a primer. I sometimes like to use them, I sometimes don't like to use them, so it's all preference. So today I'm going to be using two different foundations. This is something I've been doing lately, but I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallable Pro Matte foundation. This one is in the shade 101 Classic Ivory. I believe this is the lightest shade in the line. And then I'm going to be using the Covergirl Ready Set Gorgeous foundation. This one is in the shade 115. So as you can see, one of these is significantly darker than the other. I'm going to be mixing these together and using my beauty blender to put that all over my face. I'm going to be using more of the L'Oreal primer because it is the lighter one, and as you can tell, I am super pale, and only a little bit of the Covergirl one. So this is what that looks like. Alright, so that is my foundation done. I am going to now be taking a concealer. This one is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. This is in the shade 15, which is for sure the lightest color. I'm going to put that over any zits or discoloration and stuff like that that I have. I'm going to be using a different concealer for under my eyes, so don't worry about that yet. And once again, I'm going to use my beauty blender to blend that out. So now I'm going to be taking another concealer. This one is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer in the shade NC15. This is my go-to everyday concealer. I love this stuff, and it is the only thing that even semi-covers my under-eye circles because I look like I haven't slept in 1,000 years. I kind of like to work in layers with my concealer, so this is my first layer that I'm going to put on, and I'm just going to blend that out with my beauty blender. And as you can see, you can still kind of see my dark circles, so I'm actually just going to take what's left of my concealer and I'm going to put that also under my eyes. And whatever is left, I'm going to put down the bridge of my nose. Oh my god. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cream contour kit. This thing is my life. It is by Laura Mercier. It's just called the Flawless Contouring Palette. So I'm actually going to be taking this medium shade. I'm going to be taking that with this foundation brush. This is legit from Forever 21. Yeah. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And now I'm just going to take this other brush from Forever 21. This one's like an angled brush. And I'm going to use that to blend this out a little bit. I'm going to take that same side and I'm going to dip that in the first contour shade. And I'm going to use that to contour out the sides of my forehead. Not that I have a big forehead, I just feel like it makes it look a little bit more seamless if your entire face is contoured. And I'm going to drag whatever's left on the brush down on my jawline. I'm going to dip it back in, and I'm actually just going to contour my nose. Perfect. So now I am going to be using my Rimmel Stay Matte powder. You guys have seen this about 2 billion times because I use it every day. And I've used other powders, and this is just the one that I always go back to. I've never found a powder that works as well, especially for how cheap this stuff is. So I'm going to be using this to set any and all of my concealers. I'm not going to use this where I contoured because that would defeat all the purposes. So now what I'm going to do is set the cream contour with a bronzer. This is the one that I use most days. It is the Too Faced Endless Summer bronzer, and it's just the best bronzer I found for my skin tone. It's not too dark, it's not too light, it's not too orangey colored. Next, what I'm going to be doing is highlighting. I'm going to be using my MAC Soft and Gentle Mineralized Skin Finish. It looks like this. It's super pretty, and yeah. I'm going to be using a fan brush to apply this, and it's going to go on the tops of my cheeks. I'm going to run a little bit on the edge of my nose right there, and a little bit on my cupid's bow. Lastly, I'm going to be applying blush. You can use whatever blush you want. Blush is something you can kind of play around with. This is my go-to blush. If I don't know what blush to use, this is the one I use. I'm going to use my multitask brush from Real Techniques. And I'm just going to dust that on. I think the best way to apply blush is a little bit at a time. It's better to build up a blush color than look like a clown. I mean, if that's the look you're going for, by all means. But generally, it's not what I'm going for. Alright, and this is it.